Hale Essentials for us is our classroom management system. It's simply our foundation of our behavior intervention plan. So what that means is that it's consistency from classroom to classroom. It's a tool that teachers are using in the classroom to better utilize instructional time to give your child the best educational opportunity possible. This is our Hale Essentials and how we're going to handle classroom management, but also discipline within our school. And our middle school is doing the same thing. But you'll notice the bottom, the foundation of our pyramid is Hale Essentials, and I'll get into that here in just a second. And it kind of tells you who's involved in those stages. Okay, obviously the lower stages it's teacher-student. The first three stages is all teacher-student, and then once we get past that stage, then we get the parent interaction with a parent phone call from a teacher. And so I'll kind of explain that as we go through the Hale Essentials as well. When a teacher calls about behavioral issues, we don't want it to be a thing where the teacher's calling and complaining. That's really not what the call is supposed to be about. The call is supposed to be an informative cooperation between the teacher and the parent to find out how can we best help the student, how can we best help your child to be successful in the classroom. And so some of the things that they're going to talk about are the behavior of the student, obviously, but their expectations, the intervention strategies, things they're doing as a teacher to help your child be more successful in the classroom. And then they're going to want your input. What are some things you do at home? What are some things that maybe you struggle with at home that maybe we're seeing the same things or something different? Because that's the bottom line is that sometimes kids are different at school than they are at home. For parents, Hale Essentials is really a safeguard for them, knowing that their children are being treated fairly, being treated consistently from teacher to teacher. And I think from a parent standpoint, I know with my daughter, I would feel comfortable knowing that she's having the same expectations as every. The whole concept of Hale Essentials is to not make student discipline, an office thing. That's not what the intention of the central office is supposed to be, our front office is supposed to be. It's supposed to be curriculum driven, and it's supposed to be student driven, not behavioral driven. That's supposed to be done in the classroom. And so what Hale Essentials, and you'll see what I'm talking about when I demonstrate it, Hale Essentials is literally putting the classroom management and the discipline of the students in the classroom where it's supposed to be. Students are going to know what to expect when walking into a teacher's classroom. Their first period class is going to be the same as their second period class in terms of expectations, in terms of enforcement. And so I think when you look at Hale Essentials from a student perspective, it's about consistency, but it's also about a safe learning environment. I think because the teacher's in control of the classroom, it gives them the tool to do that, and so therefore the students feel safe in learning. I'm going to look first at numbers 1 and 2. This is something that should be in almost every class. How many of you got letters home asking you to sign something saying, here's my classroom rules? And how many of them looked almost 100% identical? More than likely, you probably got some. Take that as a positive. That's a good thing. That means that the teachers are on the same page in terms of expectations. What that means is that student walks into your classroom, that teacher's classroom, and they know going in, here's what the teacher expects. And so what you don't have is, hey, y'all be quiet. Hey, you sit down. Hey, come on, guys, we got to get going. The bell rang. Come on, let's go. Hey, here, bell works on the board. Let's go, let's go. And you think about it, and you think, well, that doesn't take a whole lot. That takes maybe 30, 45 seconds at the start of class, which is true most times. Sometimes it takes a little longer. But if you add that up over 5 days, you're talking 5 to 10 minutes in 1 week. If you take that over an entire month, now you're talking a whole class period you lose in 1 month. And then you take the 9 months we're in school, and you're talking about 2 weeks of lost time. So when you look at it in small increments, yeah, you're not losing but 45 seconds to a minute. But when you look at it over the course of an entire year, you're talking 2 weeks of instructional time that's lost. Just in the first couple of minutes, just looking at numbers 1 and 2. And so what the teachers have is things, when they come in, they just want the kids to sit down, don't talk, face the front. And that's face the front of their desk. I did group work. I was big on Kagan exercises in my classroom. I didn't do the kids in straight rows and everybody sit there and don't talk. I had groups of 4, groups of 3, groups of 5 almost every single day, and it changed in my class. It was just day to day. But they would come in, so face to front for me was face to front of your desk so that you're working on whatever the bell work was for that day. All of our teachers are going to have bell work. So when your student walks in, there's something on the board, it gets everything going, and that just, what that does, that gives the teacher an opportunity to take roll, because we're asking them to take roll in the first 2 minutes of class. That way we know who's present, who's not. Okay? So this isn't a big deal. This is what they should be doing anyway. We want our teachers teaching from bell to bell. And so if they're teaching from bell to bell, a good teacher does this without issue. They do this because that's the expectation when you walk into their class. Hey, it's time to go to work. All right. Number 2 kind of goes hand in hand with number 1. You know, and this was, again, these were my rules. Every teacher may be a little bit different on this, and that's okay. It's their classroom. It needs to fit their personality as a teacher. I don't want a teacher to be a robot. And so my thing was backpack under your desk. Mainly because I'm a mover, and you'll see I'm kind of moving around, doing a lot of moving. I talk with my hands, and so I wanted backpacks out of the way so I didn't trip and fall, basically, is what it amounted to. And then I wanted these things on their desk. I wanted a writing utensil, their folder, which their folder was what I gave them their work back, and so they were able to file their classwork. It also had notebook paper in it, and the notebook paper, my bell work was a journal entry every day. And it could be something as simple to take 30 seconds, it could be something as complicated, take 5 minutes to do. But that was the start of class. So really, you look at 1 and 2, that's really the first couple of minutes of class. I think it helps the teachers because the students understand that all the teachers are on board, all the teachers are on the same page. And so you don't have those individual students that try to test the limits and try to get away with something in this class because they know they can, and then they act good in this class. What ends up happening is students realize all the teachers have the same expectations in terms of behavior in the classroom, and so you really put definite boundaries, and then you have all the leeway within those boundaries to get creative with your instruction. And so from a teacher standpoint, I think it just gives them a tool in terms of consistency, but it also makes it so that it's a easier transition from class to class. Number 3 is do not distract others. And you know, in the first couple of weeks, the teachers, their goal was to what we call front load and really over-exaggerate and explain to the kids what does it mean to distract others. You know, because I had group exercises, and so talking did not bother me in my classroom, to be real honest with you. I wanted the kids talking. That's why I put them in groups. I mean, I'm not going to put them in groups, have them 5 feet apart from each other, and say, don't say a word the whole class period. That's like setting them up for failure, right? And so basically what this meant is if we're working on something, bell work, whatever, just leave other people alone till they're done. You know, that was my expectation. No one invited talking. You know, don't talk out of turn. If you got something to say, I did a lot of group exercises where we'd have discussions. And so if we're having discussions, I just wanted a kid to raise his hand if he had something to say. It was that simple. That was my expectation. And so no one invited talking. I mean, again, that comes up to the teacher. I think this one is important, and we put this one on ours at the high school. Work hard and don't stop till all your work is complete. That's that whole mentality of, we've got a job to do, let's get it done. That's why we're in the classroom. We're in the classroom to work, we're in the classroom to learn, the teachers are in there to teach, and that just makes sure that everybody's on the same page. And then the last one is respect. And that's just a real simple rule for me. Treat others the way you want to be treated. The lunch D-halls, they're not meant to be this heavy burden on your student. It's literally a 10-minute slap on the wrist. That's really all it is. But that 10 minutes takes away from 30 minutes of their social time. So instead of having 30 minutes social time, they now have 20 minutes social time. And that's all it is. We're not condemning them, we're not punishing them, we're not throwing them in a prison, in a jail. It's literally a slap on the wrist. But it's inconvenient. And because it's inconvenient, it's also inconvenient for the teacher. And so the teachers they're gonna make sure they front load and make sure they're consistent. Because they're serving that detention with that teacher during their lunch period as well. And so there's kind of a two-way accountability there. Now, the way that it works, you walk into my classroom, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look around and make sure everybody sits down, make sure everybody's working on bell work. If everybody's good, I'm going to go take my attendance, come back, check to see if everybody's done with bell work, and boom, we're getting started on class. And it literally takes 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, or it did in my class anyway. All right? As we're doing that, I'm also going to be going around making sure everybody's got writing utensils and those type of things. Why is this such an important deal? Because how many times, think back when you were in school, how many times did you hear the teacher say, okay, everybody get out a pencil? That takes 15 seconds because little Johnny's looking through his book bag and he can't find it. Miss, I can't find a pencil. Okay, well, let me go get you a pencil. And so you've just wasted, by the time it's all said and done, you've literally wasted 3 minutes trying to find a writing utensil. Okay, we'll borrow one from the person next to you. Well, the expectation now is you have these 3 things on your desk ready to go. You don't waste that time, you get right into the instruction. And so we're not asking them to do things that are just above and beyond. We're asking them to have the things necessary to actually conduct class. Okay? And so for these 2 things, if the kids are breaking any of these essentials, then they're just going to get an orange sheet. We use orange sheets here because it's bright orange. You can see it, you know you've got something. And so if a kid breaks one of those essentials, then it's just an automatic 10-minute deal. And it's not the end of the world. It's not that your kid's a bad kid. You know, I had some of my best students, and that's one of the great things about it. There's 3 things to this. 100% participation by the teachers. 100% enforcement by 100% of the students. And so it doesn't matter if you've got the smartest kid in class, the kid that struggles in class, the kid that never says a word that's an angel in class, or the kid that's a little bit of a handful in class. It doesn't matter who your child is, they're all going to be held. And so it takes the emotion out of it as a teacher, which for me, that was the hardest thing for me. I'm a coach. I'm a fiery, emotional person. And so I struggled early on, my first couple of years as a teacher of the kid that was a distraction. I just got mad. Well, I don't have to get mad. Just give them an orange sheet and move on. And so you don't lose instructional time taking care of a discipline issue. Wiggle, wiggle, whack. And wiggle, wiggle, whack is basically, I'm going to wave the orange sheet, I'm going to wave the orange sheet, and you're still doing it. Now we're going to put it on your desk, and now you've got a 10-minute deal. And so, for instance, let's say we're in the middle of class, and we're taking notes, and you're bumping your buddy next to you, and you're messing with him. I'm just going to walk up. I'm not going to stop class. I'm going to keep lecturing, keep talking. I'm just going to put a yellow sheet or an orange sheet on your desk, and I'm going to back up, and I'm just going to go about my business. I'm not even going to say a word to you. You know that meant stop. And I took no instructional time away from anyone. So now I handled that situation, and I didn't take away from this kid who was doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that to me was always frustrating as a teacher, is I would have to spend more time with the kid that was a discipline issue and take time away from the kids that actually wanted to learn and wanted to be there. And that just was never fair to me as a teacher, and I struggled with that. And so it took the emotion out of it, so I didn't have to get upset. I gave them the orange sheet. That doesn't mean they had a deal. I just meant, hey, be quiet, stop distracting others. Now, we go through class. If they're an angel the rest of class, everything's good. They leave that sheet on their desk, they don't have a D-hole. Class is done. If we go through class and 5-10 minutes later they're doing it again, I'm just going to come up, keep class going. I'm going to circle what they did, sign their name to it. They have a 10-minute D-hole. So that was the slap on the wrist, the whack. Now, that's a real simple process, and that's really what Hale Essentials is.